All right, we are joined by Trent May, head women's basketball coach at Grand Canyon University. Coach, if you can just give us your thoughts headed into the year.
Last year was a big difference joining the Division I ranks, and this year it feels different again because we lost so many seniors. We had 9, so 9 newcomers this year, 8 true freshmen. So there's just a big difference in that as well from last year, but excited nonetheless. Each year there's always going to be a challenge. The great part is we get to do a lot of teaching, which is a fun part of the game, to be honest, and really getting to build these girls up from the ground floor, and with a lot of optimism and a lot of hard work and of intentionality. We're excited about this year and just being in obviously our second year now in the WAC. We have a little bit of perspective, and obviously experience goes a long way, but now we're doing it with a new crop of players, and so that's, again, will be a challenge. But from the staff's point of view, again, we're excited for the opportunity, excited just to be in year 2. So a lot of the things that were unfamiliar last year are now familiar. We just got to go find a new way to win, and which we will do.
You did lose a lot of scoring off last year's team. You're replacing all 5 starters. Can you touch a little bit on some particular players that you're looking to lead your squad this year?
Well, we had 2 players that redshirted last year that I think can come in and make a good impact. One is going to be Courtney Hayes. She was a transfer from Louisiana Tech. She is a point guard, can play the 2 as well. Thankfully, she has game experience at the D1 level, played in a good conference before, being in our system now for her second year, last year setting out. But it'll be fun to have her in uniform this year, along with returners of Estrella Reed and August Touchard, Madison Craig. Those are players who saw and got some good, valuable minutes last year. They got to see what winning was like, and so it'll be good to have those players again. Not many, but at the same time, at least there's familiarity, and there's returning players who again understand what we're about, what we're doing, and the vision of our program. We sprinkled in a couple of junior college players that we're excited about. Cheyenne Hedrington and Devin Edwards, both from community colleges in Kansas, and they played in a very tough league in Kansas. So we're excited to have their experience, and especially on the floor, along with leadership. And then with a lot of true freshmen. So every day reps are important, but those are some of the girls that we're excited about coming in for the start of this season.
Coach, looking around the league, do you feel like there's a lot of teams that can contend and potentially win it this year?
I think there's a strong nucleus of 2 or 3 that have a great chance. I think Cal Bakersfield, obviously the number 1 consensus team right now. I think they are the ones with the target on their back and the ones that I think everyone will be gunning for. And so I think that's one in particular. But I think there's, I think health is a big key for everybody. So it really depends on how that goes. And obviously basketball is a long season. If you get to stay injury-free, great things can happen.
There is not a lot of NCAA tournament history with the teams in this conference right now. For a coach of a new program, coming up into this level, how exciting is it to think that could potentially be within reach? Maybe not, if not this year, then in the next couple or whenever that may be.
Well, it's very exciting, and that's our goal that we think about every single day. We're in that probationary status right now, and so every day when we practice, every day that we recruit, every chance that we get to play on the floor, it's an opportunity to play with the end in mind. And the end for us is getting through this probationary status so that we can compete the national tournament. We're going to schedule games every year that can, hopefully give us experience and get us in a game-ready mode for when that day comes. Not if it comes, but when it comes, so that so our players are used to playing high-quality and high-caliber teams, so that when we get into that tournament one day, that we'll have already played such competition that hopefully will make us even more ready when we get there.
Coach, this year you brought on a new member of your coaching staff, Judy Jones, who used to be a player. What do you think she's going to bring to your coaching staff? Well,
what she has already brought is just a lot of energy. She is probably one of the best player development aspects that we have. She's phenomenal with the game. It's almost like she's been coaching for so long, just because how well she really knows the game. And she's, like I said, she's a great trainer. She's great at player development. She has so much life in her and so much energy, just like the way she played the game. And so very fortunate to have her on board. If I could have her in my staff for the rest of my career, I would. She's just a valuable part of who we are. She's always been a winner. She's first class in all that she does. So we're excited that she gets to be around our players right now, especially with so many young ones that can have somebody they can look up to, that they just saw how she really played the game and how she did it at such a high level.
Last year, you held your opponents to about 60 points per game, so did a really good job defensively. Obviously, you lost pretty much all the starters that you had last year. Do you still feel like that type of defense is really the identity that you want to have for your team?
Well, it was good last year in leading the way. I mean, we did lead the conference in defense points per game, and so it's going to have to take that. I mean, we're going to have to be, that's going to be our calling card, but it always was our calling card even at the Division II level. There's 2-3 years ago, we were the number one defensive team in the country at the D2 level. So it's not so much of who you have, but just your style. You have to have players that understand the concepts and just the details it requires to play great defense, but and the toughness and attitude that goes along with that, and so it's definitely a work in progress right now. We see some things that we have to. It is early, but there's always things to build on. But we really got to get better at that, and so but it has to be our calling card of who we are as a program, and we tell our girls all the time that this is we've always been this way in our program as far as defensive minded, and so we're going to continue that path, and so the buy-in has to be quick and has to be very accurate in the way that we play.
You feel like the newcomers, especially the freshmen on the team, do you think they've been buying into that defensive system already based on what you've seen in practice? And are there any new players on your team, because you're a very young team, are there any players that are kind of standing out that you think will get to know their name pretty soon?
And I appreciate that question. I think there's been a lot of buy-in in all things from our freshmen, which has been a huge blessing, especially when you have so many, because there's a lot of details that when you step on the college campus that are required. Defensively speaking, they have bought in. They're going to buy in. It's a learning process. So we're just new into their full practice season right now, and so it's there are things right now that they're still trying to grasp in terminology and just the intentionality of how we play, and it comes with being intense as well. So they're learning that, the physicality of the game. Names in particular, there's again, we're looking at every bullet that we have right now, and so with 16 players on our roster, 15 scholarship, 1 walk-on, we're looking at everybody to be able to compete. But we like the way that Casey Rarick, she's a great offensive player, learning and desiring to be a great defender as well, and she wants to play both ends of the floor. That's a unique aspect right there. And then Letty Infante from California, again, somebody who can be a great defensive player, and again, it's just learning the game and learning the concepts that we drill every single day and putting those into applicable processes. So we feel like that we can be a strong defensive unit. So it's just a couple names in general, but there's quite a few who I think will help us continue to reach our goals on the defensive side.
Coach, in your first season as Division I program, you made the WBI tournament, number 1 seed in the West Region, hosted Boise State. How did that immediate success, making it to a postseason tournament, affect recruiting in the offseason?
It was neat because I think for so long last year that people were pretty certain that we couldn't play in a postseason. And I think it was just because that people were used to schools like ours that are just getting into the Division I ranks that it probably you weren't going to make it. And so I think as our season went on that hey, we're going to play in something. I think that was a great benefit. And so as January and February and March rolled on, we had the ability to start telling recruits, hey, listen, we're going to be in a postseason. We don't know where. We don't know when, don't know what yet, but there is going to be postseason for Grand Canyon women's basketball, and that's something that people can't take away as long as there's success there. And so there's a lot of people that said what we can't do. We were about what we could do and what we will do. And so I think just knowing that people are like, oh, I didn't know you could play in postseason. And so now that we have, and now that we get to use that as kind of a benchmark, it's been really good and rewarding at the same time.
What was, looking back on the last year, what was the biggest kind of eye-opener in terms of going from Division II to Division I? What surprised you the most?
I don't know if it's so much of a surprise, but just I think with I think there's a lot of eye-opening things with just our quick turnaround of putting another 21 season together. Again, I think that just exceeded a lot of expectations, more so than surprises. I think if people would have been okay with, 500 season. No, it's year 1. It's okay. Or hey, a couple games under 500. But I think going out and just in having in the first year playing the schedule that we had, played that you win 21 games, and that was without Judy Jones, who tore her ACL before conference when we were on a roll. We were 11-2 in our non-conference, so we were playing extremely well before she went down. And just to finish the conference strong without her, going 10-6 in conference. So I think there was just that people thought that again. We were going to be just that Division II team who's trying to find their way in Division I versus coming in and making a statement like we did in year one.
Any other questions?
Coach, it's got to be frustrating for you and your players not being able to play in the NCAA tournament, even if you have the record to do so. Have you guys been trying to make a case to the WAC in order to play in the WAC tournament?
We have, and I think there's a conference, the Atlantic Sun maybe, that has Northern Kentucky in it, and they just said if there's a school that is in a paying member within the conference, then they're going to play in the conference tournament. And so there's already a case with that being done with a school that's 1 year ahead of us. They're in year 3. But nonetheless, they are getting to compete in their conference tournament. Hopefully, the WAC will look into that, knowing that we're with a 7-team league going into conference tournament play, minus us. There's 7 teams, so hopefully we can potentially be an 8th team to make it an 8-team field, which makes the tournament play a little bit easier. So we're hoping for that. I mean, I think it's I don't know. You can always say fair or unfair. That's not what life's about. So you take it as it's been, and knowing that there's a chance to do that, you would jump at it just because, again, it's a great opportunity for our student athletes. It's not their fault that we're in the situation that we're in. They did choose to come to Grand Canyon, but nonetheless, it's a conference tournament. I think it's something to where there could be a system in play that would allow us to participate without excluding a team who deserves the right to go on. So I think there will be something put in place for that. So hopefully there will be, and hopefully they'll strongly consider that.